Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I have a very interesting review, impressions of a knife that's been in my collection for quite some time. And I realized I hadn't really done a full review on it, and so I figured this would be a great time to do so, especially since my reviews have developed a bit and are a little more thorough now. So let's get right into this. This is the Enrique Peña Mula. This is a X-Series knife, but this is kind of a special one. I got this from Crane's Cutlery. This has the red fat carbon fiber inlays on both sides, and that's a really nice high-end carbon fiber. And as you notice, this also has the Damasteel, a beautiful steel made by Damasteel. That's the name of the company. And there are different designs. I forget what this one's called, but there's different designs that they have. The neat thing about the Damasteel, this is not your traditional Damascus steel. This is a very high-end steel in the sense that this is equivalent to 154 cm, has a really great hardness, really great edge retention, can be really hard used and everything. So that's what makes this steel really, really nice. It's not just pretty, it's actually functional. So it's a realistic, nice steel. So that's why it costs a bit more. This titanium frame, it has a beautiful copper back spacer right here, and you can see this beautiful patina developing on this from use. It was very shiny when I first got it. It has a little hole for a lanyard, so if you know the lanyard folks, you definitely have a place for your lanyards. It has a deep mill pocket carry clip, not super deep, but you know, it's a nice knife and it works relatively nice. These are all T8 screws, so that's really great for, you know, taking things apart. The clip works really nice. It travels really well over. As you can see, it is a frame lock, and it does have a steel insert and an over travel stop. So when it does open up, you'll see that the steel insert does lock against the blade. And we're at about, I would say maybe 20%. And there's no blade rock. It's in there really solid. And when you go in to close, you can see the detent works really nicely. Nice click. There's no detent lash. It's in there really well. And it flicks really well. Now, because it is a front flipper, as you can see, you don't want to have a super strong detent. You know, front flippers need to have a lighter detent to be able to front flip well. And the nice thing about this one is I can roll it open, and I can also front flip it really nicely, and it works really well even with my finger like that. And then I can also do it both left-handed. Now, when I do that, I usually use the deep mill pocket carry clip for that. So that is always really nice. Again, all of this is cage ceramic ball bearings, so it's very smooth. I did put in skiff washers on this, which makes this even nicer. I felt like skiff really made a difference on this one. They weren't bad, but skiffs were just, they're so much more uniform. The control tolerances are just so much better. It's a much better washer, and I think it's worthwhile. So in this case, this really added some value to it, and it gave it so much better action, especially for clothes, right? It's just so much nice and smoother. So that's what else. It is nicely centered, as you can see, really well centered. And the nice thing about Damasteel, you can see how that pattern with the folding of the metal and everything and goes all the way through. So that's the handle, that's the materials, and it is a thumb stud flipper, front flipper, which is really nice. I guess you could theoretically, if I got my finger in there for a reverse flick, I could do a reverse flick with my finger in there like that. So let me get it in there again. So I can, you know, have a fourth deployment if I wanted to, right? So that's nice. The lock, we already talked about the frame lock, and that works really well. It is cut out. You can see that there's a little relief that you can easily get to, so that's nice. And then it's angled with a little bit of jimping, not harsh or aggressive, and cut out on both sides so you can get in there for a very comfortable release of the frame lock. The lock bar releases really nicely. It's not uncomfortable. If you have a really straight 90-degree angle, I don't recommend that. It's very uncomfortable after a short period of time. I've run into some really nice knives that have had that and just kind of killed it for me. This one is not. It's a very comfortable long-term kind of comfort, so I really like that. And then you can also see that it drops really nicely, really smooth. And the way I catch it is I drop it here, catches, I don't know if you can see that, right here on my nail on the inside where the sharpening choil is. So it's not anywhere where it's going to fall on my nail and this little part's going to cut into my nail or cut into my thumb. So that's really nice. All right. So that's it. Let's go ahead and measure this knife. All right, I got to zero that out. Lately, I've had to zero out my scale a little bit more. That's interesting. All right, so let's go ahead and measure that. All right, 3.88 ounces. So that's the weight of the knife. A little under 4 ounces, right? So 3.88 ounces. Let's go ahead and get a length on this here. All right. So we are looking at an edge. It's just a little over 3 1/8 of an inch, I think, maybe. Yeah, about 1/8. So it's 3 1/8 of an inch total cutting length. If you go to the back of it, it's almost 3 1/4. If you look at the cutting length from there to there, it's right at, I want to say 3 inches, 3 1/8 again. So, and then the whole handle, if you look at typically where people would grip, it's 3 1/2, but if you choke up and typically grab a little bit higher, you have a full 4 inches, and you could probably choke up a little bit more to get 4 1/4 inch. You can get a full handle on there. That's really nice, right? All right, so let's go ahead and measure that blade stock thickness real quick. All right, so we're zeroed out. Let's go ahead and measure that. All right, so I got 0.1, I don't know if you can see that, 0.140, so 140 hundredths of an inch. So it's almost right between 1/10 and 2/10 of an inch. It's a pretty thick stock. I mean, that's a pretty big chunk of Damasteel there for a blade. So that's pretty hefty duty. So at the weight, and with the weight with that, it's not the perfect ratios, right? This is a much shorter blade than the weight was, but it's pretty close, and I would not feel uncomfortable with this. You know, if you find, let's see, where's the center of the knife? Yeah, so it's about back here. It's about where this is, so this would be comfortable. Feel very balanced here. If you choke up, it's definitely going to be a little heavy in the back, lighter in the front, but this time you're probably doing a push cut, trying to get in there. Has some nice jimping. Jimping goes all the way up, and I love the Damasteel. Do you see how you can see the design even in the jimping? It's so cool, right? That whole edging, it comes all the way through everywhere. Even back here, it comes through. You can see it right there. This is just a neat thing about Damasteel. I would get more if I could afford it. I'm not, it puts some knives out of my budget to have the Damasteel. This was one of those few things that I was able to get a hold of and I've had for a while. And I've kept in my collection, especially because it has the red fat carbon scales. I like to wear something red on Fridays to support the active duty deployed U.S. military troops. So when my sons used to have games and stuff on Fridays and I couldn't wear a red shirt because their schools are blue, I would wear a knife that had red in it. So I would call it Wear Carry Something Red Friday. And so I'd carry one of these knives. And I've carried this quite a bit on Fridays in support of the troops because I want to show my support of our active duty military troops. So this has been in my rotation for quite some time, and I've really enjoyed that. So this is one of those that I was always happy to get and always happy to carry. And I always knew the blade was really solid. I've been able to open boxes. I've been able to open letters and, like, you know, cases of water, the plastic ties on a 6-pack of sodas, all sorts of stuff. Dog food, cat food, works really, really nicely. And I have not scratched this up. It's been really wonderful. It's very hard steel, so it's really nice. It's not like that cheap Damascus steel you sometimes see when people just do Damascus steel for the sake of Damascus steel, and it's like equivalent to 440 steel or something. It's not really great. So that's really nice. All right, so we did the measurement. So what knife category does this go into? Well, this definitely is a high end. It's above 275. Yeah, this would be about the 435, 450 range, right? So you're looking at a very nice high-end knife. And all that comes from, and it's not, if this is USA made, this would be a $700, $800 knife, right? But the fact that this is made by Riyadh, which is really cool. They do a great job. Their tolerances are outstanding. But, you know, you have the red fat carbon scales and inlays, which is done in really nice. It's, you know, the exact same height all the way around, and that's kind of put there, and I think it's intentional because even the inlays are chamfered. They're nice and soft, contoured, rounded edges all the way around, which makes this almost feel like it's attempting to do a contour shape. You have levels, like stair-stepping levels within the knife, and it's a very gradual, but it's enough to be significant for texture, and I think even for grip, that it's really nice, right? And then even the stainless steel, you know, collars here and washers and screws, those are all really, really nice, and they're all titanium, by the way. And then, of course, you know, the stainless steel thumb guards right here work really, really nicely. Volcano here on the edge, and it's got the little rounded in there, and it's nice because it's a thicker handle, and you want to get to the volcano part right when you're right here on the edge, so it reaches that really nicely. You know, you don't really have to get in deeply. And if I follow the chamfering along the scale here, it leads me right to where I need to be, both in the front, oops, sorry, I'm trying to do that while stretching, and in the back. So it works really nicely, both left-handed as well, and then in the back here as well. Works really, really nicely, right? And then, of course, the front flipping works really well, both sides. That's really nice. And then I can even get the middle finger flick to work over here like that, as I can get it to work over here. Oops, whoops. What am I doing? Okay, I put my finger on there. There we go, like that. Yeah, it helps not to try to flick it with putting your finger on here and trying to flick that with having this finger stopping it. That's no bueno, right? It doesn't work. You want to be able to have that finger off and then it flicks. Even with a nice slow like that, it still worked, right? So yeah, so that category is definitely in the high end because of that. The Damasteel, the titanium, the milling, the high end tolerances, the frame lock, which is very thin, relatively speaking, right? And inlays, and then you've got this beautiful, nice big chunk of carbon copper here. That's just beautiful, and patina is really, really nicely in there. You can even see it. I don't know if we can see it, patina in there. Can we see it with the lights? I don't know if we get the right light. Yeah, it's starting to patina a little bit in there from the pocket, you know, the moisture in the pocket when you're carrying a knife on a hot day. And I've carried this knife for a couple years now, so it's really nice. But the action is beautiful, especially with those skiff washers. That made it just even better, really drop shutty. You know, I really like that. It just closes just really nicely. So that's the high end. So what's the purpose of the knife? I would say it's EDC. Now it's a higher end EDC, so I carry it to church. I carry it like nice places. I wouldn't carry it out in the yard cutting things because, you know, it's a more expensive knife, the Damasteel. I mean, could it do all that? Yes, absolutely. I could use it in the work. If I had money was no object, this could be, you know, cutting trees, branches. I could be out there cutting bags of fertilizer, you know, seed, whatever I wanted to do out there, mulch. I mean, I could do all that. I could cut branches, you know, things like that. Yeah, I could do all that. This is a very good steel. Damasteel is going to be really good for that. It'd be like 154 CM, which is a great work steel, right? But because of the polish, because of the extra time to get this nice high polish finish on here, that adds cost to the knife, and that's what's part of that makes this a high-end knife. So the purpose on this one is going to be probably more casual EDC, more in the pocket, more, you know, in the office, more opening boxes, letters, you know. And when you talk about boxes, I'm not going to be opening like I did one time with this one. This is where I learned my lesson. I was breaking down some boxes, and they had these big steel staples. Didn't realize that. Wasn't paying attention. So I cut right through this thing into the steel staple, ran the steel staple all along the edge. This edge was rolled, it was dull, everything. So I don't know if you can see it, but this edge is now polished. It's a really nice polished edge on here. And I polished that edge because I had to reprofile this entire edge, and I had kind of destroyed it. Fortunately, it was a very minor roll. I was able to straighten it out, polish it out, and it worked really nicely. But man, it killed me. As soon as I did it and I saw it, I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I was so mad at myself. So yeah, I'm more cautious with something like this. This is a higher end knife. I would, if I was carrying this somewhere, I would have a 5th pocket knife. This is one of those knives where I'd carry my Penguin Mini. I would carry maybe a little Lander or something small, you know, maybe my little Peña. I have a Peña Trapper, but again, that's a $300 knife. So I don't know if I'd carry that one, or $270. But, you know, I would carry something small that I wasn't as afraid to get damaged or hurt as I would with this one here. But that's what I'd say, everyday use. I mean, you could use it for everything else, and if you didn't care, I think you could be fine doing that. It is cage ceramic ball bearings, so just remember, if you're in a real dusty, sandy metal bit area, you could get stuff in your ball bearings, and that would make it a little more difficult. Now, Skiff does offer big, thick phosphor bronze washers, and you could probably replace that with phosphor bronze if you wanted to use one of these knives that traditionally would take cage ceramic ball bearings. You can get that thicker phosphor bronze washer and put it in there, and it could be a harder used knife. Just something to consider. All right, so that's the purpose. So let's go talk about the ergos in the field. Ergos in the field. We talked a little bit about the chamfering all the way around. We talked about how this felt stair-step with carbon fiber, so it makes this handle really comfortable. This clip here, it's rounded. Everything is rounded and smooth, so it feels really comfortable in hand. There's no hot spots. It's very comfortable to use, very comfortable to wield and carry around. I like that a lot. The deployment is beautiful. The thumb studs works beautifully. Front flick works beautifully. Reverse flick, we already talked about that. The way the studs and the way they're positioned with the chamfering here, it just feels like you're just led right up to where you need to be. If you follow that edge, you just led right up to where you need to be. It works just really well. It deploys really, really well. And the front flipper, because of the detent, is really nice. It just flips really nicely. You can roll it and you can flip it. So if I wanted to roll it open, oh, of course you got to roll it all the way around. It rolls really well, or you can flip it really nice. So that works real well. The closing, again, if I get up nice and tight, drop it down there, it catches on my nail within the sharpening choil, and then I just drop, and it just really smooth, beautiful smooth. And it's a very smooth, buttery feel. It's not a gritty, harsh kind of close, so that's really nice. Fidget factor on this one's going to definitely be about an 8.5, almost a 9. I might give it a 9. It's fun, front flip, Beautiful front flipping. You can do both front and reverse with the thumb studs. Really nice. I can do the middle finger flip. So it gives me options, gives me lots of options. The only reason why I take some points away is the left-handed is not quite, I mean, it's still beautiful for a frame lock. It's a relatively thin frame lock. Now, if this was just a hair thinner, or if this was a bolster and the inlay covered that, that would make it probably a 9, 9.5, because, you know, the problem is I got to be careful when I'm over here. I'm almost resting on the frame lock, which then allows me to not deploy that as nicely. So fidget factor is about an 8.5. Definitely really, really nice. And I've enjoyed carrying this over the years, and I fidget this knife quite a bit when I carry it. It's very comfortable. My hands don't get tired. Everything about it is really designed well for that fidget factor. That makes it a lot of fun. Overall thoughts, and is it recommended? Well, I've had it for a couple years, so I bet you can guess what my overall thoughts are. I love it. It's great. It's fantastic. It's absolutely wonderful. Check out Crane's Cutlery if they have one, and if not, get one even without the Damasteel, maybe the M390. Beautiful knife. The Mula, the Enrique Peña Mula. Now, he has customs. I bet those are ridiculously awesome, but I don't have $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 for those. But if you do, get one. And if you would like to, let me borrow it so I can review it. Gosh, I would love to review something like that. Even if you just let me borrow it, I would give you some stickers, make sure it's insured, send it back to you. We wouldn't do any hard use. We would just open it. We'd open and close it. Maybe if you allowed me to, and if you said no, I wouldn't do it. But if maybe you allowed me to, cut a piece of paper, see how that works. If just test the edge. If not, we would just open and close it, kind of feel it going in and out of the pocket, kind of flick it a little bit, you know, obviously get a little feel for it, and kind of enjoy that part. And I would be doing it on this, you know, here on a padded area where there's carpeting and all the good stuff. But anyways, that's my spiel if anybody's ever interested in that, if I have anybody who has something like that and they're willing to do that. But that being said, I love this knife. I love, love, love this knife. Yeah, this is great. Fidget, everything is just really nice. I recommend this. Get one if you haven't gotten one. Everything about it's nice. One of the things I always worry about knives, he has another one. It's Cabela, I think, or Cabela, I forget which one it is. It's very flat. It doesn't have any contouring. This one has a little contouring where you can come in here, grip, and you've got a little chamfering up here where you can really hold on to. So if I've got a hard push, I know I've got some grip. It's not going to slip on me. That other knife that he has is, it doesn't have that. It makes it a little more difficult, right? So I don't like that one as much. And I like the design of it. It's really nice. I think Urban EDC has a Sagai kind of pattern version of it. And I'm very tempted, but I just don't like the fact that there's nothing there to grip, and this one has it. It's really nice. I enjoy that. Even when I choke up, I can get my finger in here. That gives me enough little traction. You see that? I can hold right there, and then I've got the jimping here, but then I also got this little part right here where I can come up to and just really hold on, and I can do that push cut if I have to do that. But here, I've got the jimping, I've got everything. I'm feeling really solid in the hand. I don't feel like it's going to slip out of my hand, which is always a real concern for me, especially if I've got a really sharp blade and if I need to do a hard cut. So, not that I would do crazy hard cuts with this knife. You're right. I wouldn't, because it's, you know, one of my nicer knives. But you never know. I could be in a situation where I need to do that. I want the knife. I want to trust the knife, right? That's important to me, especially if it's a bigger knife and something like that. Now, I do have that Enrique Peña Trapper, and it's not as solid, but it's a small knife, and it's very much intentional to be like a little slip joint. And so that's one of those knives I carry when I intentionally want something very discreet and small. This is not that. This is definitely flashy. People are going to notice this, especially the steel pattern. It, as polished as it is, it's going to stand out and really be noticeable. So here, I'll even get my little cloth here. We can polish this off, and we can show you how beautiful that really can look once we get it nice and polished here. All right, so look, you can see the beautiful design. It just stands out, and what that's done with acid wash. What it does is the different layers of the steel, you acid wash it, and it kind of jumps out because there's different properties there. So it's just beautiful, right? Yeah, so overall thoughts, it's definitely recommended. It's going to be a recommended knife and a recommended high-end knife, absolutely. And if you can get the Crane's Cutlery versions of this, I would recommend it. They may still have some of these. I haven't checked. Last I checked, I knew they had a few. They might still have one or two. Maybe check them out. Really, really nice knife. I really like this knife. I think it's a great, great deal for the quality and what you get in this. And I found that this red fat carbon, was flawless. I didn't see any any voids in this one, which is really nice. When Riot does something like that and they get this really beautiful milling, it's gorgeous. Now I have red fat carbon on my Shaman, and I like it a lot, but it's very pitted everywhere. And it is from our Rips Garage Technology, RGP. And I don't know if that was intentional, but you know, being that it's a hard use and the way I use that knife, I kind of feel like it fits the Shaman, well, however you want to say it, right? Shaman, if you want to be pronounced correctly. But that's a different type of knife and a different purpose, right? And this is more elegant, so I really like this. So yeah, it's recommended. I like this knife a lot. Try to get it if you can, definitely. So that's my review. Hey, if you have any questions about the knife, feel free to comment down below. If you have any ideas or things you'd like to see me do in reviews in the future, please comment down below as well and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And if you find this content fun, interesting, or worthwhile, please consider liking this video. And if you've already liked this video, maybe consider subscribing to my channel for more content. It really helps me out and helps me produce more content. It's huge, so thank you. And if you've already subscribed, maybe consider hitting the notification button so you can be subscribed or notified of future content as it drops. And if you've already done all of that, maybe check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. That's robs_nerdy_knives. I sure would appreciate it. Thank you so much and have a great day and a great week. Bye.